So today I'm going to be talking about substance abuse in the legal field, and I'm going to cover four different topics, which are what is substance use disorder, the statistics, causes and effects, and creating solutions. So first, we're going to talk about what is substance abuse, and these are some definitions that are going to be important for our discussion. Substance use disorder is the medical term used to describe a pattern of using a substance that causes significant problems or distress. It can be present even when a person is not physically dependent but does exhibit problems. And this is important, and a lot of lawyers struggle with this. Substance use disorder does not mean that you have to constantly be drinking or using substances. It can be related to drinking outside of work. And secondly, substance use disorder is a recognized medical brain disorder that refers to the use of illegal substances or the misuse of legal substances such as alcohol, nicotine, or prescription medicines. Substance dependence is the medical term used to describe the use of drugs or alcohol that continues even when significant problems related to their use have developed. Some substances associated with substance use disorder include alcohol, which is the number one issue for lawyers, marijuana, prescription medicine such as pain pills, stimulants, or anxiety pills, cocaine, methamphetamine, opiates, hallucinogens, and inhalants. Some signs of substance use disorder include using or drinking larger amounts or over longer periods of time than planned, continually wanting or unsuccessfully trying to cut down or control use of drugs or alcohol, spending a lot of time getting, using, or recovering from use of drugs or alcohol, craving or a strong desire to use drugs or alcohol, ongoing drug or alcohol use that interferes with work, school, or home duties, using drugs or alcohol even with continued relationship problems caused by use, giving up or reducing activities because of drug or alcohol use, taking risks such as sexual risk or driving under the influence, continually using drugs or alcohol even though it is causing or adding to physical or psychological problems, developing tolerance or the need to use more drugs or alcohol to get the same effect, or using the same amount of drugs or alcohol but without the same effect. Having withdrawal symptoms if not using drugs or alcohol, or using alcohol or another drug to avoid such symptoms. So now we're going to talk about the statistics. 1 in 5 lawyers are problem drinkers. This is double the rate of other professionals with similar levels of education, including doctors. So, the prevalence of substance use in lawyers was documented in a 2016 study of 12,825 licensed attorneys. And the results were that 20.6% screened positive for hazardous, harmful, and potentially alcohol dependent drinking. 53.4% of attorneys were male and 46.5% were female, but men had a higher proportion of positive screens. Younger participants and those working in the field for a shorter duration had a higher proportion of positive screens. And there were also higher scores for those working in private firms or bar associations. So, when asked to self report their own concerns, 22.6% felt their use of alcohol or substances was a problem sometime during their lives. 27.6% reported problematic use prior to law school. 14.2% reported problematic use during law school, and then 43.7% reported problematic use within the first 15 years following law school. 14.5% reported problematic use started more than 15 years after law school. This also occurs in law school for law students. Over 50% of law students reported drinking enough to get drunk at least once in the prior 30 days. 43% reported binge drinking at least once in the prior 2 weeks, and 22% reported binge drinking 2 or more times in the prior 2 weeks. In relation to the rest of the country, 6.4% of the general United States population exhibits problematic drinking. 21% of all attorneys exhibit problematic drinking, and 32% of attorneys under the age of 30 exhibit problematic drinking. So now we're going to discuss the causes and effects. So some causes of problematic drinking include the constant public performance that comes with the job. This includes going to court, talking to clients, and talking to other lawyers consistently. This also goes hand in hand with the next point, stress. The job is notoriously stressful, and this can lead to drinking as a sort of relief for a lot of lawyers. Dissatisfaction with the job, whether it be the amount of hours you're working, the amount of money you're making, the cases that you're taking on, all of this can contribute to the wish to drink. Mental health is another huge factor. Negative mental health often leads to problematic drinking as a sort of relief. And the same goes for physical health. Culture is another huge factor in problematic drinking for lawyers. Oftentimes, drinking is seen as the norm for lawyers, whether it be during law school or in their career. Drinking is often an after work activity and is seen a lot at work functions and is considered normal when in reality, it can often be a problem. So, some effects of problematic drinking on lawyers include mental health, which is both a cause and an effect, mostly because problematic drinking worsens already existing mental health issues and can create new mental health issues. Missing deadlines is another effect. In general, coming to work hungover or just counting down the hours until you can go drink after work often leads to people missing important deadlines, such as meeting clients or going to court, or just in general. Deadlines are very important in the legal field. And then also inappropriate behavior. Studies have shown that lawyers that engage in problematic drinking are more likely to exhibit inappropriate behavior with both their coworkers and their clients. Another major effect is criminal behavior, including driving under the influence. This can lead to disbarment, and it happens a lot more frequently than it should. And then, of course, physical health. Alcohol in general is very bad for your physical health, including your liver. And just in general, other critical mistakes. Being a lawyer is a very tedious job, and drinking can become a huge distraction for many people. So, some of the reasons why attorneys refuse to seek help. These were some of the top reasons that they cited. The first was fear of being judged, which in any professional situation, it is easy to see how seeking help can be seen as a sort of inferiority or incompetence in your position, but this is really not the case. And then the second reason includes denial about the existence or severity of the issue. And this goes hand in hand with the culture. A lot of people don't see alcohol as an issue, just because, maybe their coworkers are doing it or other law students are doing it. But there is a boundary between doing it as a fun recreational activity and becoming dependent on it. There is also the fear that it would impact their license. A lot of people are concerned about whether or not seeking help would lead to them losing their license. And then finally, the belief that they can solve the problem themselves. The same goes for law students. The top reason for law students refusing to seek help was potential threat to bar admission. I'm sure many of you know this, but after you graduate law school, the bar looks into your records, and sometimes these can include mental health. And this is not for all states. It depends on the state, but some people are worried that they would not receive the job that they had studied 3 years for. And then the second is potential threat to job or academic status. This is the same as the first point. The third is the social stigma. Again, like I discussed before, the culture surrounding drinking is a huge factor in why so many people do not seek help. And then finally, again, the belief that they can solve the problem themselves, which addiction is a disease. It's not something that you can solve yourself. And then finally, creating solutions. So one of the primary solutions that has been proposed are lawyer assistance programs, or LAPs. Lawyer assistance programs throughout the country provide confidential services and support to judges, lawyers, and law students who are facing mental health or substance use issues. For example, in Mississippi, the Mississippi Bar Lawyers and Judges Assistance Program provides guidance and ongoing support for getting back on track. Services include assessment and referral, work or life support, peer support, consultation, intervention, monitoring, and education. These services are confidential, voluntary, and available at no charge. However, many law students stated that they would rather seek help from a health professional than the LAPs, which again may be because of that confidentiality issue and the threat of bar admission. And then secondly, a report from the National Task Force on Lawyer Wellbeing stated 5 main criteria that would help reduce problematic drinking in the legal field. And the first was identifying stakeholders and the role each of us can play in reducing the level of toxicity in our profession. The second is eliminating the stigma associated with help-seeking behaviors. The third is emphasizing that well-being is an indispensable part of a lawyer's duty of competence. And the fourth is educating lawyers, judges, and other law students on lawyer well-being issues. And the fifth is taking small incremental steps to change how law is practiced and how lawyers are regulated to instill greater well-being in the profession. Another proposed solution is the ABA Wellbeing Campaign. The ABA Wellbeing Campaign was launched to improve the substance use and mental health landscape of the legal profession. The primary vehicle for the campaign is a pledge calling upon legal employers to first, A, recognize that substance use and mental health problems represent a significant challenge for the legal profession and acknowledge that more can and should be done to improve. And B, pledge support to the campaign and work to adopt and prioritize its 7-point framework for building a better future. And during the second stage, a commitment form will be circulated annually, asking participants to describe any steps taken toward the objectives set out in the framework during the previous year and recommit. The 7-point plan includes providing enhanced and robust education to everyone in the organization, including judges, lawyers, staff, and students, on topics related to well-being, mental health, and substance use disorders. The second is disrupting the status quo of drinking-based events, whether this be in law school or in legal career offices. The third is developing visible partnerships with outside resources committed to reducing substance use disorders and mental health distress in the legal community. The fourth is providing confidential access to addiction and mental health experts and resources, including free in-house self-assessment tools. And the fifth is developing proactive policies and protocols to support assessment and treatment of substance use and mental health problems, including a defined back-to-work policy following treatment. The sixth is actively and consistently demonstrating that help-seeking and self-care are core cultural values. And the last is highlighting the adoption of this well-being framework to attract and retain the best individuals in the organization. So how can we make these plans effective? A lot of these plans have some good ideas, but they're very vague and there is nobody enforcing them. So these are some solutions to make these plans a little bit more effective in reducing the drinking problem. First is alleviating the fear of job loss. Asking for diversion means exposing lawyers to concerns of impairment and facing a rigorous monitoring program, which is very intimidating to a lot of people that otherwise would seek help. Removing the social stigma. Substance use disorder can affect anyone at any time, regardless of your past experiences with substances. So discussing and removing the stigma is key to seeking treatment because it allows people to feel more comfortable voicing that they need help. And then third, a better work environment is very important. Creating specific workplace environment requirements and enforcing them. Obviously, lawyers work in a difficult work environment already, and this only makes these drinking problems worse. but right now we don't have anybody enforcing these workplace requirements. And then finally, education on disorders. Addiction is a disease and it can affect anyone. It is not a choice. So, education about signs, causes, and treatments can prevent progression. So, finally, some potential exam questions. So, first one is, how do programs such as the Lawyer Assistance Programs and the ABA Wellbeing Campaign propose reducing the prevalence of substance use disorder in the legal field? And what are some of the flaws of these programs? How can they be altered to become more effective? And then, second, why are lawyers disproportionately affected by substance use disorders? What can we do individually to improve these statistics? And what, if anything, should be done legally to improve these conditions? And finally, how does the ABA affect the substance use problem in the legal field? And then here are my sources.